All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shemel Shai. When I give double honor to the apostles of great mercy that rule well. Salutations to the men of the hopeful and sincere elect. This is Makaza from the Trinidad camp. Just want to do other edification for the elect's sake. And this lesson, is about nuclear missiles in the scriptures. All right, because when you read about nuclear missiles, the prophets, they describe them, usually describing a vision that is so to the best of their ability. But it's for us in these last days, as the scripture said in Matthew chapter 13, it says many prophets, and ancient men have desired to see the things that we now see. All right, so they didn't understand the prophecies or the visions that they were getting back then, which were of these times. But us in these last days, seeing what actually going on around us right now, we could say, all right, yeah, this vision or this scripture pertaining to this particular thing or time. All right, and concerning the nuclear missiles, the brothers back then, they would have been describing it to the best of their ability, so what they saw in the dream. But it might not have actually looked, like an actual, nuclear missile. But guess what? When we know about the effects, and about, the way the nuclear missile, it's built, it behaves itself, whatnot, we could say, all right, there is, that vision that the prophet got back then was actually talking about the nuclear missile. All right, and I just want to go into some scriptures to to elaborate on it. This is Revelation chapter 6 verse 12. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man hid themselves in the dens of the rock of the mountains. All right, so this is talking about destruction. But then it says what? It says there was a great earthquake. Now think about 2 million missiles going off pursuant to Revelation chapter 9. All right, one nuclear missile alone will shake the earth. Now think about 2 million. All right, we're gonna be halfway around the earth and feel that shake. All right, and it says what? The sun became black as sackcloth, because all the smoke and all the soot from all those explosions, they're gonna be in the earth's atmosphere. All right, but when it says the heaven departed like a scroll in verse 14, that is when the nuclear missile, explode, and then the smoke and the fire, enveloping and turning around in itself. All right, I just want to show a little video just to back it up.
After falling for 43 seconds, the time and barometric triggers started the firing mechanism. A uranium bullet fired down a barrel into a uranium target. Together, they started a nuclear chain reaction. Solid matter began to come apart, releasing untold quantities of energy.
If you see right here, this is what? This is according to, I'll bring it out. This is Revelation chapter 6 verse 14. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. and you can see it rolling together as a scroll. The shock wave. It says what? Revelation chapter 6 verse 13, and the stars of heaven fell onto the earth as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when it is shaken of a mighty wind. It says, and the heavens departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. All right. Now, guess what? This is just the in fact the nuclear missile. All right, and I'm gonna go, deeper into it, and you will see more. All right. This is Ephesians chapter 6 verse 16. It says, above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. All right. Now look up the word dart. It says what? A fiery dart. I want to look up the word dart. All right. When you look up the word dart, it says what? A missile. A missile, a dart, javelin, or arrow. When the scriptures talk about darts, or Lord said he shoot his arrows, it was figuratively speaking about what? With the nuclear missiles. Oh, Salakia. All right. And what the missile is just a modern day arrow, or a modern day javelin, or a modern day fiery dart. This is what the nuclear missile is. Then the scripture said, out of the cockatrice root shall come, out of the serpents then shall come forth a flying cockatrice. All right, a flying serpent. All right, that is what it is. When you look up the etymology of the word dart, it says what? Early 14th century, a metal pointed missile weapon thrown by the hand. So a missile is just in these modern days, it's self-propelled. Back then it was thrown, now it's self-propelled. All right? A missile is nothing modern. It's something old, just as the scripture said, there's no new thing under the sun. It's just something that was, was reinvented. All right? It just gave it a means to to propel itself and go further distance. That is basically it. All right, that is what the missile is. All right, for those who can't see. All right, what the nuclear missile is. The nuclear missile is what? What John saw in Revelation chapter 6. And not only Revelation chapter 6, we're going to go more into it. All right. This is Revelation chapter 9. So that verse 17. It says, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire. And jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses was the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these three was the third part of men killed, by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. For their power is in their mouths and in their tails, and their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. All right. So now he says what? And he saw the horses in the vision. So remember what John was seeing was a vision. And them that sat on them having breastplates of fire and jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were like the heads of lions. Now when we talk about horses, even in these modern terms, when we talk about the speed of a car, we compare it to horsepower. So you're talking about what the speed and the ferociousness these missiles coming with. It's like horses, charging together to war. The speed that they're coming at, because they're gonna travel at thousands of miles per hour. So that is, and even in these modern times, we compare the speed of cars. We say 300 horsepower, 320 horsepower, 400 horsepower, compared to how much horses would be if for the car to move at that speed. How much trained race horses it would take for the car to pull the car to move at that speed. So it's the same thing. What the dream was parallel to, showing him the speed. It was just symbolizing. It was showing him that, hey, these missiles gonna be moving rapidly. All right. He said, and the heads were heads of lions. Now guess what? The head of a lion, has teeth in its mouth, and what they do, it tear the enemy. And at the tip of the nuclear missile is what? The warhead, the weaponized warhead. Because that is where all the destruction happens, at the head. All right. It says what? When you jump down to verse 19, it says, for their power is in their mouth, which is the warhead, and in their tails. And the tails, because it's the tail what propelling the instrument. All right. The reason it says it was like tail, because if you look at the fire going up, the tail will, the fire will actually, it dance and wiggle, or seem to be wiggling as though it's a serpent. So what John was seeing was an actual nuclear missile, but couldn't describe it fully back then because he never knew what a nuclear missile was. All right, he didn't know what a nuclear missile was. All right, so he was just describing it to the best of his ability, just like the other men that some call it darts, some call it arrows. All right, but I want to go back to verse 17 when it says, and I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and of brimstone. Now when they go into the translations, all right, just bear with me 1 second. When they go into the translations, there's the New King James Version. It says what? And thus I saw the horses in the vision. Those who sat on them had breastplates of fiery red. So now we go into the color of fiery red, of hyacinth blue, and sulfur yellow. NASB, it says, and this is how I saw the vision. The horses and those that sat on them, the riders, had breastplates the color of fire and hyacinth and brimstone. All right. NLT says, and in my vision I saw the horses and the riders sitting on them. The riders wore armor that was fiery red and dark blue and yellow. All right. This is the NIV. Says, and the horses and the riders I saw in my vision looked like their breastplates were fiery red, dark blue, and yellow as sulfur. So guess what? So we have three colors there. We have red, we have yellow, and we have blue. So what was John describing when he said he saw red, yellow, and blue? All right, let's see what John was looking at when he saw red, yellow, and blue. All right. Just bear with me 1 second. Satan just, this was good all the time. All right. So here it is. So it says what? It says photo by Aloy Jared on Flickr. Colorful exhaust flame from the Antares 330 rocket carrying Cygnus. All right. So this is the exhaust from a rocket, which the same system the rocket moves by is the same system the nuclear missile moves by. So guess what? This is the exhaust of the rocket, which you have what? Which you have fiery red. In the middle, you have sulfur. And the bottom, you have what? Blue. Red, yellow, and blue. This is what John was seeing. He said what? NIV, and the horses and the riders I saw in my vision looked like this. They had breastplates of fiery red, as you could see, blue, dark blue, and yellow as sulfur. And here you have the three distinct colors right here. What John was seeing is an actual nuclear missile flying towards the sky, flying through the sky, moving very rapidly like horses. All right. And what he saw, he also saw the explosion, because he said what the heads does, damage. And the tail, the power in the tail, because the power in the tail actually shoots that missile. And if you look at it moving, it will actually be dancing like what? Like a serpent. All right. Guess what? Everything in the scriptures. Everything in the scriptures. All right. Everything in the scriptures. This is we go in history. All right. So here you have what? It says zones of candle flame.
By the luminous zone. Cold. Yes, it's the hottest zone on carbon monoxide. All
right. Now if you look, you will see what? You will see to the top, you will see fiery red, you will see sulfur yellow, and guess what you see below? Hyacinth blue. It makes sense now? Does it make sense? Going back to the scriptures. This is the NIV. And the horses and the riders I saw in my vision looked like this. Their breastplates were fiery red. Now remember, John was seeing a vision. Fiery red, dark blue, which is hyacinth blue, as the King James Version has it, and yellows as sulfur. Red as fire, yellow as sulfur, and blue as hyacinth or sapphire, as some scriptures would say. What John was seeing was the actual nuclear missile.
Types of flames.
All right. Look at this. Now, if you look closely, now you're seeing where you see blue, but before you was actually seeing it. Yeah, at the end. All right. See if I could just. All right. If you look carefully, you see the blue, and you see the red at the very tip. All right. This is what John was seeing. John was actually seeing a nuclear missile. All right. This is what John was seeing. John was seeing a nuclear missile. Look at this one, types of flame. And you see what? You see the blue, you see the red, and you see the yellow. This is what John was seeing. John was actually seeing the nuclear missile in action. All right. And for those who have eyes, guess what? They would see. The elect would see. What John was seeing, what John was explaining, that doing all the destruction, what the prophets were describing, that gonna, as the scripture said, that this gonna be with a fire and fuel of fire. Guess what? It all goes back to what? To the nuclear missiles, World War III, that about to take place. All right. So, I hope it was edifying for those that have eyes. I want to give all praises to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. I want to give double honors to the apostles of great mercy not rule well. Salutations to the men of the whole plan, saints, and elect. This is Makazar from Trinidad Camp saying Shalom. Stay strong.